Welcome back. We were working on the rules for changing a simple form of adjective to comparative and superlative form, and that depends on the number of syllables of the adjective. So if it's a one syllable, you put ER in EST. If it's a two syllable ending with Y, then you add what? Change Y to I, and you add ER, and that becomes what? Like busy, busier. If it's more than one, like two syllables, three syllables, but it doesn't end with Y, then you add what? More before the adjective, then, like famous, more famous than. And some adjectives, like simple, can take both forms. How do you determine how many syllables does it have? So one way is just the rule of thumb. You say happy, two, or famous, two. The way to do it is this, that you look how you write the word, the way you pronounce it. The number of vowels in the pronunciation of the word determines how many syllables it has. So when you say happy, you say ha and then p. There are two e at the end of happy. That's one syllable, one vowel, two vowels. That makes it what? Two vowels, so it's two syllables. When you say, for example, difficult, difficult, so you count three vowels, three syllables. Now let's look at some other rules of the adjectives. Now, there are irregularities, like in verbs. We have regular verbs and irregular verbs. We have the same thing with adjectives as well. There are adjectives that they do not follow this rule. For example, the adjective good. The comparative form is not the gooder, it's better than. So good becomes what? Better than, the best. Bad becomes worse than, the worst. See, worse than, the worst. Far becomes farther than, the farthest. Little becomes less than, the least. A lot becomes more than, the most. These do not have any rules. You basically have to memorize them. Please repeat after me together. Good, better than, the best. Bad, worse than, the worst. Far, farther than, the farthest. Little, less than, the least. A lot, more than, the most. Now, here are pictures for these rules. For example, one syllable adjective, tall. Jim, this guy, is tall. John is what? You compare two of them, you say what? John, this guy, is what? Taller than Jim. Because tall has one syllable, so you just add ER, taller than. And then there is another guy, Ahmad. Look, so you say what? Ahmad is the tallest person in the group. Jim is tall, John is tall, Ahmad is tall. But this John is what? Taller than Jim. Ahmad is what? The tallest person in the group. Keep in mind that when you put EST, you need to put the before the adjective, and then after the noun, it's followed by a prepositional phrase. John is tall. Jim is tall. John is taller than Jim. Ahmad is the tallest person in the group. Now, with two-syllable adjective ending with Y, we can say that Tim, this person, is busy. You see, he's answering a phone, he's busy. And then we see that what? These people here, they are busier than Tim because they are doing several things. They're looking at the computers, they're talking to each other, they're multitasking. They are busier than Tim. They are busier than Tim. But Tim is busy, he's also doing something, but they're doing a lot more. And then we get what? This person. You see how much work she has done. We can say what? Helen is the busiest person in her company. Let's say that all of them work in the same company. Tim is busy, they are busier, but Helen is the busiest person in the company. You compare Helen against all these people. But here, you compare Tim with this group. Let me read this sentence again. Tim is busy. They are busier than Tim. Helen, this person, is the busiest person in her company. 3 or more syllable adjectives. Jess is beautiful. So beautiful, 3 syllables. Liz is more beautiful than Jess, because beautiful is more than 2 syllable, or 2 syllable not ending with Y. You have to use more. You have no choice. Liz is more beautiful than Jess. And then you bring the 3rd person and say what? Jennifer is the most beautiful woman in this group. Now you compare Jennifer against the 2. While in this case, you compare what? Liz with Jennifer. That rule applies to all comparative and superlative form of the adjectives. Now, let's practice this. What I have for you, I have a number of sentences, and I want you to look at the context of the sentence and decide whether you use the simple form, the comparative form, or the superlative form. Remember, if you're comparing a person against himself or herself, you use simple form. If you compare 2 people or 2 things, then you use what? Comparative form. If you compare 1 person against a group or more than 1, then what? You use the superlative form. Let's look at these sentences. John is old, his brother. Now, are we talking only about John, or are we bringing somebody else in this equation too? We are also bringing his brother. So we say what? John is what? Older than his brother. John is older than his brother. Number 2, Muhammad is one of the common names in the world. Now, are we talking only about Muhammad? Or are we talking about Muhammad as a name? Or are we comparing Muhammad as a name to all other names? The answer is what? We're comparing Muhammad to all other names. So we say what? Muhammad is the most common name in the whole world. That's a true story. Muhammad is the most common name in the whole world. Sentence number 3. Bill Gates, it should be past tense, was a very rich person. Now, are we comparing Bill Gates with anybody else? Or we're just talking about Bill Gates? In this case, we're only talking about Bill Gates. So we say what? He is, or he was because he has died, the rich person. He is a rich person. He was a rich person. We're not comparing it with anybody else. Number 4, Afghanistan is one of the poor countries in the world, unfortunately. Are we talking only about Afghanistan, or are we comparing Afghanistan to other countries? The answer is what? We are looking at Afghanistan and all other poor countries, so the only correct answer is what? To say the poorest country in the world. But poor is what? 1 syllable. That's why you have to put EST. Basir, the name of a person, young than his brother. Now, are we comparing 2 people or 1 person? It's just like sentence number 1, that John was older. In this case, what? Basir is younger than his brother. Now, I'm making Basir happy because I know Basir, he's not younger than his brother. He's actually older than his brother. But let's make him happy for a few minutes. Basir is younger than his brother. Now, let me read these sentences with correct completion. John is older than his brother. Muhammad is one of the most common names in the world. Bill Gates is a very rich person. Afghanistan is one of the poorest countries in the world. Basir is younger than his brother. Again, comparing 1 person against himself or herself, sentence number 3. Bill Gates is a very rich person. Comparing 2 people, John is older than his brother. Comparing 1 against a whole group, Afghanistan is one of the poorest countries in the world. Sentence number 6. San Francisco is one of expensive cities in the United States. Now, we are comparing San Francisco against what? One city, two cities, three cities, how many cities? A lot of cities. So not just one. So we can say what? And look, the adjective is what? Expensive. Is expensive one syllable, two syllable, three syllable, or more than three syllables? Listen, expensive, three syllables. So what do? We use what? Most. San Francisco is one of the most expensive cities in the United States. San Francisco is one of the most expensive cities in the United States. German cars expensive than Japanese cars. Now, how many cars are we comparing here? Two types of car. German cars, Japanese cars. Are we using comparative or superlative? The answer should be what? Comparative. Two countries, two types of cars. The Japanese cars versus the German cars. So we say what? German cars are more expensive than Japanese cars. Why more? Because expensive. Three syllables. If it is three syllables, we have to use what? More. German cars are more expensive than Japanese cars. Number 8, soccer is exciting than golf. Now, are we comparing two sports or against money sports? One sport against many sports, or are we only comparing two sports? In this case, we're only talking about what? Soccer versus golf. So we have to use what? Comparative. But the word is what? Exciting. Exciting. Two, exciting. Three, actually. So three syllables. And so it's not ending with Y. We have to use what? More or most. In this case, we use more. Why? Because golf versus soccer. Soccer is more exciting than golf, I think. Number 9, UC Berkeley is one of famous universities in the United States. Are we comparing UC Berkeley? UC stands for University of California in Berkeley. University of California in Berkeley. Are we comparing UC Berkeley to one other universities or to many universities? The correct answer is what? That we are comparing UC Berkeley with many other universities in the state of California. So we say what? Is the most famous university in the United States. Number 10. This is a very easy lesson. Now, are we talking about many lessons or just one this lesson? The answer is what? There is no comparison here. We use the simple form of adjectives. Now, let me read these sentences with correct completion. Number 6. San Francisco is one of the most expensive cities in the United States. Again, we say most expensive because we are comparing San Francisco with all other cities. Sentence number 7. German cars are more expensive than Japanese cars. We are comparing German and Japanese cars. Two types of cars. We use comparative form. Number 8. Soccer is more exciting than golf. Here, two sports. Number 9. UC Berkeley is one of the most famous universities in the United States. Number 10. This is a very easy lesson. I have a lot more slides as usual. I over-prepare. I made a lot more slides to cover. But unfortunately, we don't have a lot more time left. Actually, the time is up. So I have to stop here, and then we'll take it from here next week. Actually, next week, I will teach you the count and non-count nouns in relation to the lesson that we had about rice. بیننده های بسیار محترم تلویزیون نور، هموطنان نهایت گرامی، درس امروز ما به همینجا به پایان رسید. تا هفته آینده شما را به خداوند متعال می‌سپارم. تشکر.